Olivia Shaw stood at the edge of Edwards Air Force Base, her small suitcase clutched tightly in one hand. The hot desert wind blew her brown hair across her face as she looked at the massive airfield stretching before her. Fighter jets roared, overhead their engines screaming as they cut through the clear blue sky. Her heart beat faster. This was it. After years of dreaming, studying, and training, she had finally made it to the most elite fighter pilot program in the country. Olivia took a deep breath and straightened her uniform. She was one of only 3 women selected for the program this year, and the only one without a family history in the Air Force. Her parents had been shocked when their quiet, bookish daughter announced she wanted to fly fighter jets. They had expected her to become a teacher or maybe an engineer, but Olivia had different dreams. "You must be Shaw," a deep voice said behind her. Olivia turned to see a tall man with gray hair and a face marked by years in the sun. The name tag on his crisp uniform read, "Lt. Colonel Frank Miller." His eyes traveled from her face to her shoes and back again, not bothering to hide his doubt. "Yes, sir. Lieutenant Olivia Shaw reporting for duty," she said, her voice steady despite her nerves. Miller looked down at the clipboard in his hand. "Your test scores are impressive, Shaw, but this isn't school. This is where we separate those who have what it takes from those who don't." He looked at her again. "I'll be honest with you. I don't think you have it." Olivia felt her face grow hot, but she kept her expression neutral. "I understand, sir. I hope to prove otherwise." Miller gave a short laugh. "We'll see. Report to hangar. 3 for orientation in 30 minutes. Don't be late." As he walked away, Olivia let out the breath she had been holding. This wasn't unexpected. She had heard stories about Miller from other pilots. He was old school. He didn't think women belonged in fighter jets. But Olivia wasn't here to change his mind about women pilots in general. She was here to become the best pilot she could be. At Hangar 3, 19 other trainees were already gathered. Most were men in their 20s and early 30s, tall and confident. They stood in groups, laughing and sharing stories. When Olivia walked in, many of them paused to look at her. She noticed a few smirks and whispers. She spotted the other 2 women in the program across the room. Susan Allen, a tall blonde with sharp features, gave Olivia a brief nod before turning back to her conversation with 2 male pilots. The other, woman Maria Diaz, was deep in discussion with an instructor and didn't notice Olivia's arrival. Olivia found an empty spot against the wall and waited quietly. She had never been good at small talk, and she wasn't about to start now when she was already feeling out of place. "All right, listen up." Miller's voice boomed across the hangar. The chatter died immediately. "Welcome to the Advanced Tactical Fighter Training Program. You were selected because someone thought you had potential. Now it's my job to find out if they were right." He paced in front of them, hands clasped behind his back. "For the next 6 months, you will eat, sleep, and breathe fighter tactics. You will push yourselves harder than you ever have before. Some of you won't make it." His eyes lingered on Olivia for a moment. "That's not a threat, it's a promise." After orientation, the trainees were shown to their quarters. Olivia shared a small room with Susan and Maria. As they unpacked, Susan turned to Olivia. "So what's your story? How did a quiet little thing like you end up here?" Olivia continued folding her clothes neatly. "I've wanted to fly since I was a kid. I worked hard to get here, just like everyone else." Susan raised an eyebrow. "Sure, but it takes more than just wanting it. You need to have the right stuff. Miller's going to be watching us extra close, you know. One mistake and he'll use it as proof that women don't belong here." "Then we won't make mistakes," Olivia said simply. Maria laughed from across the room. "I like your attitude, Shaw. But Susan's right. It's going to be twice as hard for us." The next morning, training began in earnest. The day started with a 5-mile run at 5 a.m., followed by classroom instruction on advanced aerodynamics. Olivia excelled in the classroom portion, answering questions correctly and taking detailed notes. But she could feel Miller's disapproval every time she raised her hand. After lunch came the first simulator exercise. The trainees were divided into pairs to practice basic maneuvers. Olivia was paired with Adam Clark, a former Navy pilot with a cocky smile and a reputation for being one of the best in the program. "Try to keep up, Shaw," Adam said as they settled into their simulators. "I'll go easy on you the first time." Olivia didn't respond. She had learned long ago that the best way to deal with people like Adam was to let her actions speak for her. The simulation began with a simple intercept mission. Olivia's hands moved confidently over the controls, her aircraft responding smoothly to her touch. She tracked Adam's jet easily, positioning herself perfectly for the intercept. "Not bad," Adam admitted when the simulation ended. "But real flying is different. The G-forces will crush a small frame like yours." "We'll see," Olivia said quietly. Later that afternoon, the trainees gathered for their first meeting with the full instructor team. Along with Miller, there were 4 other instructors, including Captain Lisa Rodriguez, the only female instructor in the program. "Tomorrow we begin actual flight training," Miller announced. "Each of you will be assigned an instructor who will evaluate your performance. This is where we separate the real pilots from the pretenders." He began reading off assignments. "Clark, you're with Captain Reese. Allen, you're with Major Williams. Shaw—" He paused, a small smile playing at the corner of his mouth. "You're with me." Olivia felt her stomach drop. Being assigned to Miller was the worst possible outcome. She glanced at Captain Rodriguez, who gave her a sympathetic look. After the meeting, Rodriguez approached Olivia. "Lieutenant Shaw, a word, please." Olivia followed her to a quiet corner of the hangar. "I know Miller can be tough," Rodriguez said in a low voice. "But he's one of the best instructors we have. Learn what you can from him and don't let him get to you." "Yes, ma'am," Olivia replied. "And Shaw," Rodriguez added, "I've seen your file. Your simulator scores are some of the best I've ever seen. Don't forget that." That night, Olivia couldn't sleep. She sat on her bed looking at an old photograph of her grandfather standing next to a P-51 Mustang during World War II. He hadn't been a pilot, just a mechanic, but he had passed his love of aircraft to Olivia through his stories. "Having second thoughts?" Maria asked, noticing the photograph. Olivia shook her head. "No, just reminding myself why I'm here." "Miller's going to make your life hell, you know," Susan said from her bed. "He always does this, picks one trainee to break down." "I won't break," Olivia said softly, putting the photograph away. The next morning, as the sun rose over the desert, Olivia stood on the flight line waiting for Miller. Today would be her first real flight in an F-16 fighter jet. Despite her nerves and despite knowing that Miller would be looking for any mistake, any reason to fail her, she felt a calm certainty. This was where she belonged. Miller arrived, flight helmet under his arm. "Ready to show me what you've got, Shaw?" Olivia met his gaze steadily. "Yes, sir, I am." As they walked toward the aircraft, Olivia knew this was just the beginning. The real challenge was still to come. But for the first time since arriving at Edwards, she felt a flicker of hope. She might be quiet. She might not fit the typical fighter pilot mold. But up in the sky, none of that would matter. Up there, it would be just her and the aircraft dancing among the clouds. And that was a dance she knew well. Olivia's first flight with Lieutenant Colonel Miller was a test of endurance. For 2 hours, he pushed her through maneuvers that made her stomach turn and her muscles ache. G-forces pressed against her body as she guided the F-16 through tight turns and steep climbs. Sweat soaked her flight suit, but she kept her breathing steady and her hands firm on the controls. "Barrel roll now," Miller ordered through the radio, his voice sharp. Olivia rolled the aircraft smoothly, keeping her eyes on the horizon as the world spun around her. This was her 10th barrel roll in a row. Her arms trembled with effort, but she completed the maneuver perfectly. "Again," Miller said. By the time they landed, Olivia could barely stand. Her legs shook as she climbed down from the cockpit. Miller watched her with a critical eye. "Your turns are sloppy, Shaw. Your climbs are too slow. You fly like you're afraid of the aircraft." Olivia stood at attention, fighting to keep her balance. "Yes, sir. I'll work on it." "See that you do," Miller said, before walking away. As Olivia made her way to the locker room, she passed Adam and a group of other trainees. They had been watching her landing from the edge of the runway. "How many times did Miller make you redo your maneuvers?" Adam asked with a smirk. "We could hear him yelling at you over the radio." "I lost count," Olivia said simply, too tired to engage. "Maybe you should stick to flying passenger planes," another trainee named Gary suggested. "Fighter jets need quick reflexes." Olivia walked past them without responding. In the women's locker room, she found Susan removing her flight gear. "How was your flight?" Olivia asked. Susan shrugged. "Not bad. Major Williams is tough but fair." She eyed Olivia's exhausted state. "Miller worked you hard, huh?" "Nothing I can't handle," Olivia replied, opening her locker. "You know why he's doing it, right?" Susan said. "He wants you to quit. He's going to push you until you break." Olivia pulled off her sweat-soaked flight suit. "Then he'll be pushing for a long time." That night, after dinner in the mess hall, all the trainees gathered for a debriefing. Miller stood at the front of the room reviewing the day's flights. "Clark, good work on those evasive maneuvers. Allen, your formation flying is improving. Diaz, work on your communication during combat scenarios." He went through each trainee, offering both praise and criticism. When he got to Olivia, his expression hardened. "Shaw, your performance today was barely acceptable. You hesitate before each maneuver. In combat, hesitation gets you killed." Olivia kept her face neutral, though the criticism stung. She had not hesitated. She had been methodical, making sure each move was precise. After the debriefing, Captain Rodriguez approached Olivia. "Shaw, a word." They walked together toward the hangar, the desert night cool around them. "Miller's riding you hard," Rodriguez said. "Yes, ma'am." "You need to understand something about him. 20 years ago, he lost his wingman in combat. It was a woman, one of the first female fighter pilots. He blames himself, thinks he didn't push her hard enough during training." Olivia looked at Rodriguez with surprise. "I didn't know. Most people don't. But that's why he's especially tough on female trainees. In his mind, he's preparing you for the worst. Or trying to make me quit," Olivia said. Rodriguez smiled slightly. "That too, maybe. But don't give him the satisfaction." The next morning, the trainees faced a new challenge, the high-G simulator. This machine would test their ability to withstand the extreme forces experienced during combat maneuvers. One by one, they entered the simulator, which would spin faster and faster, increasing the G-forces until the trainee either completed the exercise or signaled to stop. Olivia watched as each trainee emerged from the simulator, some looking proud, others sick and disoriented. Adam completed the exercise with ease, setting a high mark for the others to beat. When it was Olivia's turn, she strapped herself into the seat, her heart pounding. The door closed, sealing her inside. Through the window, she could see Adam and Gary talking to the technician operating the machine. "Begin exercise," Miller's voice came through the speaker. The simulator started to spin slowly, then picked up speed. Olivia performed the breathing technique she had practiced, tightening her leg and abdominal muscles to keep blood flowing to her brain. The G-force increased, pressing her body into the seat. Suddenly, the simulator jerked and began spinning much faster than it should have. The G-force jumped from 6 to nearly 9, far beyond what was planned for the exercise. Olivia's vision began to narrow, dark spots dancing at the edges. Her chest felt crushed by an invisible weight. "Something's wrong," she managed to say, her words slurred. There was no response. Through her narrowing vision, she could see Adam and Gary laughing outside the window. The technician looked worried, pressing buttons frantically. Olivia knew she had seconds before she lost consciousness. With tremendous effort, she reached for the emergency stop button, her arm feeling like it weighed 100 pounds. Her fingers touched the button just as her vision went completely black. When she opened her eyes, she was lying on the floor. Captain Rodriguez knelt beside her, while Miller stood over them both, his face thunderous. "What happened?" Olivia asked weakly. "Someone tampered with the simulator controls," Rodriguez said, helping Olivia sit up. "You were subjected to forces well beyond the training parameters." Miller turned to the group of trainees watching from A distance. "Who's responsible for this?" he demanded. No one spoke. Adam and Gary looked at the ground, their earlier amusement gone. "If I find out who did this," Miller continued, "they'll be out of the program immediately. This isn't just a prank. It's dangerous and unprofessional." He looked down at Olivia. "Shaw, report to medical for evaluation." "I'm fine, sir," Olivia said, struggling to her feet. The room spun around her, but she refused to show weakness. "That's an order, Lieutenant," Miller said, his tone leaving no room for argument. In the medical bay, the doctor checked Olivia for signs of injury. "You're lucky," he said. "That kind of G-force could have caused serious damage. Some people would have blacked out immediately." "But I didn't," Olivia said. The doctor gave her a curious look. "No, you didn't. That's quite remarkable." When Olivia returned to training the next day, she found the atmosphere had changed. Some trainees looked at her with newfound respect. Others, like Adam and Gary, avoided her gaze entirely. During classroom instruction on emergency procedures, Olivia answered questions with her usual precision. For once, Miller acknowledged her correct answers with a nod instead of dismissal. Later, in the simulator room, now closely supervised by 2 instructors, Olivia outperformed most of her peers in a complex dogfight scenario. Even Adam seemed impressed when the scores were displayed. "How did you manage to stay conscious in that simulator yesterday?" he asked her as they left the room. His tone was different now, less mocking and more genuinely curious. "I just focused on my breathing and muscle control," Olivia replied. "The techniques in the manual actually work if you practice them." Adam was quiet for a moment. "Look, about yesterday, I didn't know they had turned the machine up that high. It was supposed to be just a little prank." Olivia looked at him steadily. "It wasn't little, and it wasn't funny. In a real aircraft, that kind of interference could kill someone." Adam had the decency to look ashamed. "You're right. It won't happen again." That evening, as Olivia studied in her quarters, Susan and Maria came in from their flights. "Word is you impressed Miller today," Maria said, dropping onto her bed. "That's a first," Susan nodded. "And Adam Clark actually apologized to someone. The world must be ending." Olivia smiled slightly. "I think they're just starting to see that I belong here, same as them." "Maybe," Susan said, "but don't get comfortable. This is just the beginning. The real challenges are still ahead." As if to prove Susan's point, an announcement came over the speakers. "All trainees report to Hangar 3 immediately for night operation briefing." The 3 women looked at each other. Night flying was one of the most dangerous aspects of their training, especially in the mountainous desert terrain around the base. "Here we go," Maria said. "The real test begins." As they walked to the hangar, Olivia felt a new confidence. She had survived Miller's intense flight training. She had endured the sabotaged simulator. She had begun to earn a small measure of respect from her peers. Whatever challenges came next, she would face them head-on. The stars were bright overhead, the desert night clear and vast. Somewhere in that darkness, Olivia would soon be flying, alone with the aircraft she had dreamed of piloting since childhood. Despite everything, she couldn't help but smile at the thought. The night operations briefing was tense. All 20 trainees sat in Hangar 3 listening as Lieutenant Colonel Miller explained the exercise. "Night flying separates good pilots from great ones," Miller said, pacing in front of them. "Your vision is limited. Your sense of direction can play tricks on you. The margin for error is razor thin." He pointed to a large map on the wall showing the desert and mountain terrain surrounding the base. "You will fly in pairs. One aircraft will play the role of the target. The other will be the pursuer. The target must navigate through the mountain passes while the pursuer attempts to maintain radar lock. No actual weapons will be fired, but if the pursuer maintains lock for 10 seconds, that counts as a kill." Miller began assigning pairs. Olivia held her breath, hoping she wouldn't be paired with Adam or Gary again. "Shaw and Rodriguez," Miller announced. Olivia looked up in surprise. She was being paired with Captain Rodriguez, not another trainee. Rodriguez gave her a small nod from across the room. After the briefing, Rodriguez approached Olivia on the flight line. The night air was cool, and the stars shone brightly above them. "I requested to fly with you tonight," Rodriguez said. "I want to see what you can do without Miller breathing down your neck." "Thank you, ma'am," Olivia replied, trying to hide her relief. "Don't thank me yet," Rodriguez warned. "I'm not going to go easy on you. I'll be the target. Your job is to catch me." She smiled slightly. "And I don't plan to make it simple." They walked to their aircraft, sleek F-16s waiting on the tarmac like predators in the darkness. Olivia ran her hand along the smooth metal of her jet. Despite her nerves, she felt a thrill of excitement. This was why she had come here, to fly these incredible machines, to push herself beyond what she thought possible. Olivia completed her pre-flight checks methodically, then climbed into the cockpit. Around her, other pilots were doing the same. She could see Adam a few planes down, laughing with his partner for the night, a veteran pilot named Jeff. "All pilots check in," Miller's voice came through her headset from the control tower. One by one, the pilots confirmed they were ready. When it was Olivia's turn, she kept her voice steady and confident. "Shaw, ready for takeoff. Rodriguez, ready for takeoff." The jets took off in pairs, their afterburners glowing bright against the night sky. Olivia felt the familiar push back into her seat as her F-16 raced down the runway and lifted into the air. The ground fell away, and suddenly she was surrounded by darkness, with only the stars above and the distant lights of the base below. "Target aircraft will proceed to starting positions," Miller instructed. "Pursuers will hold at 10,000 feet until my mark." Olivia circled at the designated altitude, watching her radar as Rodriguez's jet moved toward the mountains. The exercise would begin once all target aircraft were in position. "Pursue aircraft, you are cleared to begin," Miller announced after a few minutes. "Happy hunting." Olivia pushed her throttle forward, banking her jet toward the mountains where Rodriguez's radar signature was moving fast and low. The night vision mode on her helmet display showed the terrain in eerie green outlines. As she approached the mountains, Rodriguez's jet suddenly dropped lower, skimming just above the ridgelines. Olivia followed, careful to maintain enough altitude to avoid the peaks. Her radar showed Rodriguez turning sharply into a narrow canyon. "Careful, Shaw," Rodriguez's voice came through her headset. "These canyons can be tricky at night." Olivia didn't respond. She needed all her concentration for flying. She followed Rodriguez into the canyon, the walls rising steeply on either side. Her night vision showed the rocky terrain rushing past at incredible speed. Rodriguez's jet weaved back and forth, making it difficult for Olivia to get a lock. Every time Olivia's radar began to tone, indicating the beginning of a lock, Rodriguez would bank sharply or drop suddenly, breaking the lock. "You'll have to do better than that," Rodriguez taunted. Olivia studied the canyon ahead. It split into two branches about a mile ahead. Based on Rodriguez's current flight path, she would likely take the left branch, which was wider and easier to navigate. Instead of following directly behind, Olivia suddenly pulled up, climbing out of the canyon. She banked hard right, pushing her jet to its limits. G-forces pressed against her as she circled high above the canyon, watching her radar. As she predicted, Rodriguez's jet took the left branch. Olivia dove back down, taking a direct route that would intercept Rodriguez at the canyon's exit. She pushed her jet to maximum speed, feeling the airframe vibrate around her. When Rodriguez emerged from the canyon, Olivia was waiting. Her radar locked on immediately. "Missile lock," Olivia announced calmly. 10 seconds and counting." "Not bad, Shaw," Rodriguez replied. Then she rolled her jet and dove toward the desert floor. Olivia stayed with her, maintaining the lock despite Rodriguez's evasive maneuvers. After 10 seconds, her radar beeped in confirmation. "Target destroyed," Olivia reported. "Nicely done," Rodriguez said, genuine approval in her voice. "That was some clever flying." As they turned back toward the base, Olivia heard chatter on the radio. Other pairs were still engaged in their pursuits. Some pursuers had achieved their kills while others were struggling to keep up with their targets. "Shaw actually got a kill on Rodriguez," she heard Adam say to someone, surprise evident in his voice. "Control, this is Bishop," a panicked voice suddenly cut through the chatter. "I've lost my navigation system. Repeat, navigation is down." Olivia recognized Gary's voice. He was flying under the call sign Bishop tonight. "Bishop, this is Control," Miller responded. "Switch to backup systems." "Backup is not responding," Gary replied, his voice rising in pitch. "I can't tell which. Way is up. I'm flying blind here." "Remain calm, Bishop," Miller ordered. "What's your altitude?" I don't know. My instruments are all over the place." Olivia checked her radar. Gary's jet was about 5 miles to the east, moving in an erratic pattern. He was clearly disoriented, a dangerous situation at night. "All aircraft in the eastern sector, be advised we have a pilot in distress," Miller announced. "Clear the area. Bishop, activate your emergency transponder so we can track you." "I can't find it." Gary's voice was shaking now. "Everything looks wrong." Olivia made a quick decision. "Control, this is Shaw. I'm closest to Bishop's position. Request permission to assist." There was a pause before Miller replied. "Granted, Shaw, but be careful. We don't need 2 pilots in trouble." Olivia banked her jet toward Gary's position. She could see his aircraft now, tilting dangerously from side to side as he struggled to maintain control. "Bishop, this is Shaw. I have visual contact. Follow my instructions exactly." "Shaw?" Gary sounded surprised and relieved. "I can't see anything. My cockpit lights are flickering." "Sounds like an electrical system failure," Olivia said, keeping her voice calm and professional. "First, level your wings. Look at the horizon line on your HUD." "I can't see it clearly," Gary replied. "It keeps jumping around." Olivia flew closer, positioning her jet where Gary could see it. "Look at my aircraft. Use it as your reference point. Match my wing position." Slowly, Gary's jet began to stabilize. Olivia talked him through each step, drawing on her extensive knowledge of the F-16's systems. "Now, try resetting your circuit breakers. Panel to your left, 3rd row down." "Got it," Gary said after a moment. His voice was steadier now. "Some of my instruments are coming back online." "Good. Can you see the base?" "Negative. My navigation is still out." "That's okay. Stay on my wing. I'll guide you back." Together they flew toward the base, Olivia maintaining a steady course and speed that Gary could easily follow. When the runway lights came into view, Olivia contacted the tower. "Control, this is Shaw with Bishop on my wing. Request priority landing for Bishop." "Granted, Shaw. Runway 2 is clear for emergency landing." Olivia guided Gary through the approach, talking him through each step of the landing procedure. When his wheels touched down safely, she heard cheers over the radio. "Nice work, Shaw." Miller's voice held a note of approval she had never heard before. After all aircraft had returned, the trainees gathered for debriefing. Miller reviewed each pair's performance, offering criticism and occasional praise. When he came to Olivia, he paused. "Shaw, your pursuit of Rodriguez showed tactical thinking and excellent situational awareness, and your assistance to Bishop may have prevented a serious incident." He looked at her directly. "Good job." Coming from Miller, it was high praise indeed. Olivia felt a warm glow of satisfaction. For the first time since arriving at the program, she felt like she truly belonged. After the debriefing, Gary approached her. "Thanks for the save up there, Shaw. I was completely lost." "Anyone would have done the same," Olivia replied. Gary shook his head. "No, they wouldn't. And after how we treated you, well, I owe you one." As Olivia walked back to her quarters, she felt different. The weight of constantly having to prove herself seemed lighter somehow. She had earned respect tonight, not through words or complaints, but through actions. And in the world of fighter pilots, actions were what truly mattered. 3 weeks passed since the night flying exercise. The training program grew more intense with each day. Pilots who couldn't keep up were sent home. Out of the original 20 trainees, only 15 remained. Olivia was still there, growing, stronger and more confident with each flight. One morning, the trainees gathered in the briefing room for their most challenging mission yet. Lieutenant Colonel Miller stood at the front, his face serious. "Today we begin combat scenario training," he announced. You will fly in formations of 4 against instructor-piloted enemy aircraft. Your objective is to protect a simulated target while engaging the enemy. Live ammunition will not be used, but your aircraft will be equipped with sensors that register hits. Miller divided them into teams. Olivia found herself grouped with Adam, Gary, and Susan. Despite their rough start, Adam and Gary had gradually come to accept her after she helped Gary during the night flying crisis. Your team leader will be Clark, Miller said, nodding toward Adam. Shaw will be your second in command. Olivia felt a surge of pride. Being named second in command was a sign that Miller finally recognized her abilities. Adam gave her a respectful nod across the room. After the briefing, the teams gathered to discuss strategy. Adam spread a map on a table as the 4 pilots huddled around it. The target is here, he said, pointing to a spot in the desert. We need to maintain a defensive perimeter around it. Shaw, you and I will take the high position. Allen and Thompson will guard the low approach. The instructors will likely come in from multiple directions, Olivia suggested. We should be prepared to split up if necessary. Adam nodded. Good point. If we get separated, maintain radio contact and call for backup if you need it. It was a far cry from the Adam who had mocked her just weeks ago. Seeing her in action had changed his attitude. He now treated her as an equal, someone whose opinions mattered. An hour later, they were airborne, flying in tight formation toward the training area. Olivia felt calm and focused. This was what she had trained for. Enemy aircraft spotted, bearing 270. Susan's voice came through the radio. 4 bogies approaching fast. Formation Delta, Adam ordered. Shaw, with me, Allen and Thompson dropped to 5,000 feet and circled the target. Olivia pulled her jet into position beside Adam's as they climbed higher. Below them, Susan and Gary descended to create a lower defensive layer. The enemy aircraft, flown by instructors including Rodriguez and Miller, split into 2 groups. 2 jets went high, heading straight for Olivia and Adam. The other 2 dropped low, aiming for Susan and Gary. Shaw, take the one on the left. I've got the right, Adam said. Olivia banked her aircraft sharply, engaging the instructor on the left. She recognized Captain Rodriguez's flying style. Rodriguez was good, very good, but Olivia had studied her tactics. She anticipated Rodriguez's favorite move, a sharp climb followed by a roll and dive, and positioned herself perfectly. When Rodriguez executed the maneuver, Olivia was waiting. Her targeting system locked on. Kill confirmed on Instructor 1, Olivia reported calmly. Nice work, Shaw, Adam replied. I'm still engaged with Instructor 2. Below them, Susan and Gary were struggling. One of the instructor aircraft had broken through their defense and was heading for the target. Shaw, break off and intercept the bogey approaching the target, Adam ordered. I'll finish here. Olivia dove her jet toward the desert floor, pushing her engine to maximum speed. The G-forces pressed her body into the seat as she raced to intercept the instructor aircraft, piloted by Miller himself. She arrived just as Miller was lining up to attack the target. With a quick series of maneuvers, she positioned herself between Miller and the target. Her targeting system locked onto his aircraft. Kill confirmed on Instructor 3, she announced. There was a pause before Miller's voice came through the radio. Confirmed. Good intercept, Shaw. The exercise continued for another 30 minutes. By the end, Olivia's team had successfully defended the target against multiple waves of attacks. They had lost Gary's aircraft to a simulated hit, but the rest of the team had survived. Back on the ground, Miller gathered all the pilots for debriefing. He rarely gave praise, but today was different. Clark's team performed exceptionally well, he said, particularly Shaw, whose quick thinking and precise flying protected the target from certain destruction. Olivia tried to keep her face neutral, but inside she was glowing. Even Adam looked impressed. Tomorrow, we move to the final phase of training, Miller continued. A full-day exercise simulating actual combat conditions. Weather reports indicate a storm system moving in, but we will proceed regardless. Combat doesn't wait for clear skies. That evening, as Olivia was studying weather patterns in the pilot's lounge, Adam sat down across from her. You flew well today, he said. Thanks. So did you. Adam was quiet for a moment. I need to apologize properly. For the simulator incident, and for how I treated you when you first arrived. Olivia looked up from her notes, surprised. I was wrong about you, Adam continued. You're one of the best pilots in the program, maybe the best. I just do my job, Olivia replied, uncomfortable with the praise. That's what makes you good. You don't show off. You just fly. He stood up. Anyway, I wanted you to know that. See you tomorrow. As Adam walked away, Susan took his place. Was that Adam Clark actually apologizing? The world must be ending. Olivia smiled. People can change. Maybe, Susan said, but don't let your guard down completely. Tomorrow's exercise will be cutthroat. Everyone wants to finish at the top of the class. The next morning dawned gray and windy. Dark clouds hung low over the mountains as the pilots gathered on the flight line. Miller stood before them, checking his tablet. The storm is moving in faster than expected, he said. But we're proceeding with the exercise. Your aircraft are equipped for all weather operations. This is good practice for real-world conditions. Olivia looked at the sky with concern. She had studied the weather reports carefully. This wasn't just any storm. It was a desert thunderstorm, known for extreme turbulence and microbursts, sudden powerful downdrafts that could force an aircraft into the ground. The teams took off one by one, climbing into the darkening sky. Olivia's jet buffeted in the increasingly strong winds. Rain began to spatter against her canopy as they reached their assigned altitude. All aircraft, maintain formation despite the weather, Miller instructed from the lead jet. The exercise begins in 5 minutes. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashed nearby, followed immediately by a crack of thunder. Olivia's radio crackled with static. Control, this is Miller. Weather is deteriorating rapidly. Should we abort? Stand by, Miller, came the reply from the control tower. Meteorology is assessing the situation before they could receive further instructions. Olivia saw Adam's jet, flying about 100 yards to her right, suddenly jerk violently. A bright flash erupted from his right engine. Mayday, Mayday! Adam's voice was tight with controlled panic. I've been struck by lightning. I've lost my right engine and my instruments are going crazy. Clark, this is Control. Can you maintain altitude? Negative, Control. I'm losing hydraulic pressure. The stick is getting stiff. Olivia immediately turned her jet toward Adams. Through the rain-streaked canopy, she could see flames flickering from his damaged engine. Clark, this is Shaw. I'm coming alongside you. What systems do you still have functioning? Shaw? Adam sounded relieved to hear her voice. My primary flight controls are sluggish. Navigation is out. Fuel system is compromised. I'm leaking fuel from the right wing. Miller's voice cut in. All aircraft except Shaw return to base immediately. Exercise aborted. Shaw, stay with Clark until rescue can reach your position. The situation was critical. Adam was flying a damaged jet in worsening weather conditions. His fuel was leaking, meaning he had limited time before his remaining engine would starve. And without proper navigation, he would struggle to find the base in the storm. Olivia pulled her jet alongside Adam's, close enough to see his face through the canopy. She could tell he was fighting to control the aircraft. Every few seconds, the jet would dip or sway as the damaged hydraulics failed to respond properly. Control, this is Shaw. Clark's situation is deteriorating. We need to get him down immediately. Understood. Shaw, emergency crews are standing by at the base. Can you guide him back? Olivia looked at the storm clouds ahead, now black with rain and shot through with lightning. The base was on the other side of those clouds. Negative, Control. The storm between our position and the base is too severe. We need an alternate landing site. There was a pause before Control responded. There's a dry lake bed approximately 15 miles southeast of your position. It should be clear of the worst of the storm. Copy that, Control. Diverting to the lake bed. Olivia switched to a direct channel to Adam. Clark, follow me exactly. We're going to put your jet down on a lake bed. Copy, Shaw, Adam replied, his voice strained. But I don't know how much longer I can keep her in the air. As they banked toward the southeast, Olivia knew they were racing against time. Adam's jet was leaving a trail of fuel vapor behind it. and his control was getting worse by the minute. The next few minutes would determine whether both of them would make it back alive. The storm grew stronger as Olivia and Adam flew toward the dry lakebed. Rain lashed against their canopies. Wind shook their aircraft like toys. Through it all, Olivia stayed close to Adam's damaged jet, watching as he struggled to maintain control. "How's your fuel level?" Olivia asked over the radio. "Down to 30%, Adam replied, his voice tight with strain, right wing still leaking. "We're 10 miles out from the lakebed. You can make it." Lightning flashed across the sky, briefly illuminating the desert below them. Olivia could see the lakebed now, a flat expanse of cracked earth stretching across the landscape. But something wasn't right. The recent rain had turned parts of it to mud. "Control, this is Shaw. The lakebed appears partially flooded. We need to find a dry section for landing." "Copy that, Shaw. Satellite imagery shows the northern section should still be firm enough. Emergency crews are en route to your location." Adam's voice broke in, suddenly urgent. "Shaw, I'm losing hydraulic pressure completely. Control surfaces are barely responding." Olivia glanced over at his jet. The right wing was dipping dangerously and the aircraft was starting to yaw from side to side. They were running out of time. "Clark, listen carefully," Olivia said, keeping her voice calm and steady. "I'm going to position myself below and slightly ahead of you. Use my jet as a reference point. Focus only on matching my descent rate." "Copy," Adam replied, "but my stick is almost frozen. I can barely adjust my pitch." "Use your trim controls if they're still working. Small adjustments only." Olivia carefully maneuvered her jet into position, slightly below and ahead of Adam's. She began a gentle descent toward the lakebed, keeping her speed steady. Adam's damaged aircraft followed, wobbling but maintaining the general flight path. 5 miles to touchdown, Olivia announced. "Starting final approach." "Shaw, my engine is fluctuating," Adam said, a note of fear creeping into his voice. "Fuel pressure dropping." Olivia made a quick decision. "We need to get you down faster. I'm going to try something unconventional." She positioned her jet directly beneath Adam's, just a few feet away. The maneuver was incredibly dangerous. The slightest mistake could cause their aircraft to collide. But Olivia knew that by flying directly below Adam's jet, she could create an air cushion that would help stabilize his failing aircraft. "What are you doing?" Adam asked, seeing her jet move directly beneath his. "Creating lift under your wings," Olivia explained. "It's a technique used for damaged aircraft in extreme situations. Just stay steady and follow me down." "Shaw, this is Miller." The lieutenant colonel's voice suddenly came over the radio. "What you're attempting is extremely risky." "It's his best chance, sir," Olivia replied calmly. "We're committed now." The two jets descended toward the lakebed, moving as one. Adam's aircraft stabilized somewhat thanks to the air cushion from Olivia's jet, but they were still coming in too fast. "Clark, prepare for a rough landing," Olivia warned. "When I give the word, cut your remaining engine and deploy emergency braking." The lakebed rushed up to meet them. Olivia could see the northern section now, dry enough for an emergency landing but with little room for error. 3, 2, 1. "Now," Olivia called. Adam cut his engine. Both pilots deployed their landing gear simultaneously. Olivia pulled, away at the last possible moment, allowing Adam's jet to drop the final few feet to the ground. The damaged F-16 hit the lakebed hard, bouncing once before settling onto its landing gear. It skidded across the dry earth, dust billowing around it. For a heart-stopping moment, it looked like it might flip over as the damaged right wing dipped low. But finally, it came to a stop, upright and intact. Olivia circled once to make sure Adam was safe, then landed her own jet nearby. As soon as her aircraft stopped, she popped the canopy and ran toward Adam's jet, ignoring the rain pelting her flight suit. Adam was already climbing out, shaky but alive. When he saw Olivia running toward him, he pulled off his helmet and grinned. "That was either the craziest or the most brilliant flying I've ever seen," he said. Before Olivia could reply, the sound of helicopters filled the air. Two Air Force rescue choppers were approaching from the direction of the base. Within minutes, emergency crews surrounded them, checking both pilots for injuries and securing the damaged aircraft. Lieutenant Colonel Miller arrived in the first helicopter. He jumped out and strode toward them, his face a mixture of relief and disbelief. "Shaw," he said, looking at Olivia with new eyes. "That air cushion technique is something we discuss in theory. I've never seen anyone actually attempt it, let alone pull it off successfully." "It seemed like the best option at the time, sir," Olivia replied simply. Miller shook his head. "Most experienced pilots wouldn't have tried it. The risk of collision was extreme." "The risk of doing nothing was worse," Olivia said. A slow smile spread across Miller's face, the first genuine smile Olivia had seen from him. "You're right about that." He turned to Adam. "You okay, Clark?" "Yes, sir. Thanks to Shaw." Miller nodded. "Both of you will need to be checked by medical when we get back to base. But first, I think we all need to get out of this rain." The flight back to Edwards Air Force Base was quiet. Olivia sat in the helicopter, watching the storm clouds begin to break up as they flew west. She felt a strange sense of calm. For the first time since joining the program, she wasn't worried about proving herself or earning respect. She had done both today, not with words but with actions. When they landed at the base, the other trainees were waiting. News of what had happened had spread quickly. As Olivia stepped off the helicopter, Susan and Maria rushed forward to hug her. Gary clapped her on the shoulder. Even the trainees who had once mocked her now looked at her with new respect. 2 days later, all the trainees gathered for their final assessment. Lieutenant Colonel Miller stood at the front of the room, his usual stern expression in place. "Over the past 6 months, we've pushed you to your limits," he began. "Some of you rose to the challenge, others did not. Today, I'll announce who will continue to the next phase of fighter pilot training." One by one, he called names. Susan made it. So did Maria and Gary. Adam, despite the accident, was also selected to continue. Finally, only one spot remained. Miller paused, looking directly at Olivia. "The final position goes to the trainee who demonstrated not just technical skill, but the judgment and courage essential to being a fighter pilot. Lieutenant Olivia Shaw." A cheer went up from the other trainees. Adam started a round of applause that spread through the room. Olivia felt her face grow warm, but for once she didn't mind being the center of attention. After the ceremony, Miller approached her. "Shaw, a word." They walked together across the tarmac, the same place where 6 months earlier he had told her he didn't think she had what it took. "I was wrong about you," Miller said without preamble. "Your flying technique still needs refinement, but your instincts are among the best I've seen." "Thank you, sir," Olivia replied. "The air cushion maneuver you performed has been added to our training curriculum," Miller continued. "With appropriate safety precautions, of course. We're calling it the Shaw technique." Olivia looked at him in surprise. "Sir? It's appropriate. You invented it, after all." Miller stopped walking and turned to face her. "I lost my wingman 20 years ago because she didn't have the confidence to try something unconventional when conventional methods failed. You have that confidence, Shaw. Don't lose it." As Miller walked away, Captain Rodriguez joined Olivia. "Well, you did it. Finished at the top of your class and saved a fellow pilot's life. Not bad for someone who was supposed to wash out in the first week." Olivia smiled. "I just did my job." "That's what makes you good," Rodriguez said, echoing Adam's words from days earlier. "You don't show off, you just fly." That evening, as the sun set over the desert, Olivia stood alone on the flight line watching the F-16s lined up in neat rows. 6 months ago, she had arrived here questioning whether she belonged. Now, she knew the answer. A fighter jet roared, overhead, its afterburners glowing in the twilight. Olivia looked up, following its path across the sky. Tomorrow, she would be up there again, doing what she was born to do. She didn't need to be loud or boastful. She didn't need to fit anyone else's idea of what a fighter pilot should be. Her quiet confidence and unshakable focus were her strengths, not weaknesses. and now everyone knew it. In the world of fighter pilots, actions spoke louder than words, and Olivia Shaw's actions had spoken volumes.